Welcome to the number one Bengals podcast. I'm your host, Dadio Maktouk. As always, I'm joined by Dr. Hodgie Electric Ismoji and
Hello.
John Sheeran. Yeah. And we have so much to talk about because the Cincinnati Bengals are practicing. They are playing football in the practice format.
Training
and
camp.
and we talked last time about how Joe Burrow he's throwing so hard that people are stinging, their hands are stinging.
Yeah.
And now, John, we have read that T. Higgins is surprised by the velocity, and that is despite the fact that he has gained, as was reported by our own John Sheeran before we started the show, he has gained 10 to 15 pounds.
I believe it's 17 pounds.
17 pounds, which tells you one thing.
Which is a lot.
And I'll just tell you this. You don't gain that kind of weight eating carrots and celery.
Wait a minute. Why all of a sudden
he's packing on the muscle. He's packing on the muscle.
You can pack on muscle eating carrots and celery.
Can you?
Yes. Look at the bull, the mighty bull. It is a mighty animal. And it's a herbivore. What does it do? It eats grass. It's a mighty animal. Look at the elephant, the mighty elephant.
Yeah.
These are mighty animals.
Yeah. But you look at T. Higgins, and he's getting so strong, he's so big, and really now a lot of people are talking about how Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback. I'm hearing it all over the place.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think
where are you hearing it? Because I agree, but I'm just curious. I feel like the mainstream media hasn't caught on to it yet.
Yeah. No, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. James,
like, what do you mean by everywhere? I mean, I don't understand. That's a pretty vague thing to say. It's everywhere. You're saying everybody. Like if I turn on ESPN or I'm following the major reporters, they're saying Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback. That's a very odd thing for them to say. Even though I agree with it, it's odd because he didn't even play a full season last year.
That's the thing. That's why he's not top 5, and that is what we want to talk about.
I feel like I'm just going to be flat out straight here. I feel like you made that up, and you just kind of made it up on the spot.
No, John. I just shared with John before the show that James Vader of SB Nation is saying this. He's saying he's a top 10 quarterback, and the reason we've talked about so much on the show is because he was already a top 11 quarterback, let's say. And then he gets Jamar Chase, who was his best deep target, and that improves his biggest weakness, is throwing deep. So boom, it boosts him at least 1 point.
What is stopping, I guess, Burrow from being a consensus, if you will, top 10 quarterback? Is it just the lack of experience? Is it ability?
That's the kind of thing, John, that the person has to prove while playing the game of football. Now, I mean, we can give Joe Burrow all the accolades we want, but I feel like sometimes the fan base is, listen, there's a reason why realism helps. Like all this talk about Joe Burrow's arm being so strong now. I mean, there's only so much you can do with an arm. Yeah, Joe Burrow can get stronger, but Joe Burrow is never going to be the kind of guy you wanted to chuck downfield a lot, and that's fine because that's not how you win games. You win games using the kind of throws that he's been throwing. You win games with those, those modest passes, but he can make all the passes. He makes them on the move, the kind of West Coast offense.
I'm very
type
confused.
Stuff.
On the one hand, you're saying there's only one thing you can do with your arm, which is not true. There's so many things you can do with your arm.
I'm saying like people are talking now as if he's a whole new guy. I saw Zach Taylor said, he can get the ball 90 yards downfield.
Let me ask you something.
He's got a new knee.
Not only that,
but it's not a better knee. It's not better than the knee that God gave him.
It is because he is strengthening the muscles around it. But you said he's the new guy. Let me ask you something. If someone, God forbid,
the teeth, sure, I'll give you that.
Yeah, if someone is lost in a horrific accident, how do you identify them? It's by the teeth. When you have new teeth, it is like you are a new person.
Okay, I give you that. I give you that the teeth. Arm connection is a totally underrated connection. I talked about it last time. When a QB gets his teeth fixed, usually amazing things happen to his throw. Fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, Joe Burrow, I mean, people were debating if he was even the best rookie last year. Now you're going to tell me he's like top 10?
Well,
I'm with you. I hope he is. I love him. He's number one.
Debate if this is the best. People debate if this is the best Bengals show, and it is called the number one Bengals show. People will debate anything these days.
Yeah, you just call things number one, and then you think it's going to happen, or say something top 10, and then you just pretend it's true. But that's not how things are ranked. It's much more complicated.
Look, let me just settle the debate. Joe Burrow is easily a top 10 quarterback. Whatever. End of discussion. I just ended it.
Whatever.
Okay, so let us move on. You have a Joe Burrow on offense. He's the guy who, he makes the whole thing go. On defense, we have a Joe Burrow. We have Jessie Bates. Yeah, we have Jessie Bates.
That's your Joe Burrow?
That is my Joe Burrow.
Not DJ Reader.
Top 10 defensive player in the league. I just said it.
DJ Reader?
DJ Reader is very good. Top 10.
You think Jessie Bates is better than DJ Reader?
Oh, Jessie Bates is incredible. Jessie Bates is one of those guys where it's like you can just leave that whole part of the field to him. Jessie Bates, the part where he is. The part where he is. Okay, you guys, you are not John. Please tell us why Jessie Bates. Tell him, please. Go.
What about Jessie Bates? There's so many things. There's so many things that make him really good. I think he's like my age. I think he's 24, 23 years old. Still really young, but he's played in every single game.
John, please. Yeah, go ahead.
No, like that's part of it. He's so good for his youth, for his young age. He's played in every single game that he's been possible for him to play. I think he's like one of the only players. He's the only player in the NFL over the last 3 years to have like 300 tackles and 9 interceptions and however many forced fumbles. It was crazy though last year because the first 2 years that he was in the league, he was very up and down, very streaky. He had a great first 8 weeks of his career in like 2018. Then he kind of tapered off a little bit. Then 2019, it was a lot more inconsistent. You're thinking, is this guy actually as good as he was starting out of his career? 2020 happens, and he's playing like a legitimate Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I think it goes the same with Burrow in terms of ability and in terms of like the limited flashes that we've seen from him. Because again, Bates is still pretty relatively inexperienced. The ability is there for him to be amongst those top 10 defensive players that Dadio is mentioning. Is he established in that spot yet? That remains to be seen. But that's why the Bengals should be interested in paying him, because they're paying for future production. They believe that he's ascending to a point where he's going to be an established, consistent stud. And in terms of just the best free safeties in the NFL, there's probably none that you would rather have in the long term right now other than Jessie Bates. Like Dadio said, he is an absolute ball hawk. He is a center field god. He just covers so much ground with his awareness, with his just overall vision and his anticipation and athleticism. He makes plays on balls that not every other safety in his position can do. And that's what makes him special. That's what makes him potentially a top 10 defensive player in the league.
Thank you. Potentially.
And you mentioned the word stud. That usually refers to a stallion. Again, I heard before.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dadio.
Yeah. They look. Here's what I want to say. John, when you have running backs, when they play in the snow, or when it's a muddy game.
When running backs play in the snow, that's what you okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
When NFL players are in the snow, right, or it is muddy
or snow,
right, and it's like you look at them and they break off like the long runs. You're like, wow, that is really, it's because everybody is kind of like slowed down by the environment, like a bad field, yeah.
Yeah.
I look at the performance of Bengals players as that. You have to factor that in. If Jessie Bates looks like a potential top 10 defender on the Bengals, or if Joe Burrow looks like a potential top 10 quarterback, you know that they are, because they are on the Bengals and they are doing that. That is what I'm saying. You look at so many
kind of not like that.
What do you mean?
It's kind of not like, because if you're saying that the Bengals are not the best team, a little bit mismanaged, that doesn't necessarily make a player look worse. It could make a player look better. You have more opportunities to make
No. You see,
there's less competition.
No. Good coaching and good personnel and good training and the good players around you that elevate your game. Look, we're not going to go.
Let's talk about good coaching for a second. I want to say something about good coaching.
Yeah.
And I know that I feel like this is like a free conversation, so I just want to throw this in there. it was, I believe it was Jonah Williams who was talking about the differences. I was reading it this week, and I want to get John's input on this, on the differences between the coaching styles of Frank Pollock and his, we won't mention his name, his predecessor, a man who was never very popular on our show. And he said the difference is, before we would be told, do this, do that, or be like this, be like that. But Frank Pollock, the way he coaches us, he says, turn your wrist this way, turn your arm that way, turn your feet this way, look that way. Very specific. How much of, realistically speaking, John, because I know you're into talent, with the talent we have on the offensive line, what kind of a difference can that offensive line coaching make on the team? Could it be a substantial difference where we have a really top-rated offensive line just because the coaching is so much better now?
Coaching is, from my understanding, a lot like teaching. The best coaches are typically the best teachers. And there's a method in terms of how to turn something that's being done wrong into something that's being done right. It takes more than just saying, do this instead of this. Show me how to do it better. Show me the steps in terms of how I can make that progress into going from somewhat bad technique to good technique. And that's really the whole difference between the coach who shall not be named to Frank Pollock. Pollock has that intensity and has that rigorousness of like a drill sergeant to command excellence. But at the same time, he comes with a pedigree of knowing what he's talking about and telling you how to get from point A to point B. And when you are able to eloquently, narrate that and describe what you're asking to do, then the teaching itself, the coaching itself becomes more absorbable. And it's something that they can actually take and apply with themselves. And that's really all what it comes down to. Like, the coach can only do so much. He's just a conveyor of information, right? It's up to the players to actually apply that knowledge and make themselves better. Because at the end of the day, like, these guys are in the NFL and they've already been coached a lot. They've already established themselves as players. So there's only so much that an NFL coach, a position coach, can do in terms of improving what a player does with his technique. So the more efficient that you can be in conveying that information in order to make those improvements, the better that those players can possibly be. So to answer your question, with the players that they have now,
that's it.
They have athletes, they have guys with high upside, they have guys who can still be molded, and that's a good recipe in terms of turning a bad unit into a good unit. And it will take more of what we're hearing from Frank Pollock in terms of getting the most out of these guys and getting them in positions to succeed, compared to his predecessor, who basically said, don't do this, do this. Not really sure how to do that. Was not being responded well, obviously. Now I think you're seeing actual progress in terms of getting guys who are doing stuff the wrong way into doing it the right way. And when you get that information in there, they already have the natural gifts to actually do it right.
Now,
John,
no. Yeah. One last follow-up.
Okay.
Because Dadio keeps talking about this top 10 thing. With the talent we have right now on the offensive line, adding that coaching factor in, that teaching factor in that you mentioned, could this ever become, this year, a top 10 offensive line? Let's say right?
It would take a lot of other offensive lines to be bad.
Some miracles. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
It's fine though, right? Like, do you need a top 10 offensive line to succeed?
Not with Joe Burrow.
No. John, so that is a good point. You talked about how you can have the teacher does his part, but the players have to be willing to learn.
Right.
And that is really what it is. I mean, you're saying, can they be top 10? I mean, you need the players to have the capability to elevate their game. Yeah. And it reminds me of the show. Like I give you guys all the best advice and instructions and resources to be the. No, I'm just saying there's so much that I put out there to help you.
The fact that you put plural on resources is actually funny.
Yeah, like Dadio, one thumbtack is a resource. A box of thumbtacks, which is pretty much all I've ever gotten from the show, is still a resource. It's not a resource. Just because it's
but I also gave you
because I can only use one.
I also gave you that link where you can download all these PDFs from a Russian site to get these all the business advice books, right?
Well, I
And how
tried
to
that.
improve your.
I tried that, and my computer blew up.
Yeah, it is, you need to get the antivirus.
It literally got a
is-
virus,
Yeah.
and it caught on fire while I was using it. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Good point. Yeah. All right. Well, I think. Well, let me just say this in closing. If you say Burrow is not top 10 QB,
I
give
didn't
me
say
10 quarterbacks who are better.
I didn't say that. I just said that it's kind of you. Okay, let's go back to what you said. You said everybody's saying. A lot
Everybody's
of people
saying
are saying that's
A lot of people-
impossible. But that's impossible. He didn't even finish the season last year. You can't make someone a top 10 QB when they haven't even really played the full season.
Okay. It sounds like you're saying it's
Okay.
fake news.
Okay, we got your Aaron Rodgers. We
Right.
got your Tom Brady. Okay, they're already going to be the top two. Well, no, Mahomes. Mahomes is okay. Mahomes, you got your three. I mean, we're already three into it, and I haven't even gotten to people who are almost
Well,
as good.
I think you are stumped because you don't know more than 3 quarterbacks.
No, I know more.
Okay,
You got
go
your
ahead.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is
Derek-
better than Joe Burrow.
No, but Derek Carr is really good.
John.
Deshaun Watson.
Does
John
that count?
Watson. He's not in the league anymore.
Well, okay, fine. But he will be.
Okay.
And when he is, he's going to be top 10.
I'll give you Russell Wilson.
Why
Russell
are you
Wilson.
helping? Why are you helping him? Okay, fine.
What about Prescott?
Not better than Joe Burrow.
You don't think so?
I don't think.
Like, I'm only helping him if I give him more than 10 quarterbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, if you,
John, would you agree Dak is better? I don't know.
I'm not saying
Probably.
better.
At
I'm
this
saying
point,
that the
yeah.
media would say he's better.
More refined, but Burrow can take you further.
I agree. I'm a bigger Burrow fan. I would not replace Burrow for anything. I'm a fan. I want that kid. That kid is my
Because
quarterback.
there's more that goes into the equation, isn't there? Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers is
exactly.
like 40, Tom Brady's like 50,
Right.
Patrick Mahomes. I mean he's Mahomes, so but like, yeah, in terms of long term, and it's the same goes with Jessie Bates. Like, is Jessie Bates the best safety in the league right now? It's up for debate. But in terms of who you would want for the long haul, in terms of having a guy on a long term contract, and in terms of a guy who can get better, you would take Bates over a lot of other quarterbacks. And I think the same goes for Burrow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Top 10 at least. That is what I heard. Okay. Look, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a 5-star review. That is all we have. We'll see you next time. For John Sheeran and Dr. Hodgie, the Electric Smoji, I'm Dadio Maktouk. So long. Sweetie.
Bye.
Bye.